Okay, we're going to start on a unit called perspective. Okay, it's called linear perspective. What do you think linear perspective means? What does linear mean? Linear, what do you think? Yeah. Means lines, okay? Perspective means how things are viewed, okay? So what you're going to see here is that we have something called an optical illusion that happens with horizontal lines. So when you see this, you've probably seen something like this. If you look at railroad tracks, if you look down on them, it appears as though this rail and this rail are going to eventually meet way over here. Now that's an illusion. You know that if you walk down the railroad tracks, you see that they never meet. But the illusion is that they converge towards an invisible point. That's called your vanishing point, okay? So this is called one-point perspective. There's a one point here that all of things like, notice the fence and this fence, they all converge towards that point. So that happens when you're looking down like a road or an alley or a hallway. Things appear to be converging towards a point, okay? You can hit the slide. Now, back in the day, many, many hundreds of years ago, artists really didn't know how to draw things three-dimensionally. So if they were drawing a table, they didn't quite know how to do that. So they make a table flat, and they know that plates are round, they draw them round, but notice everything looks really flat. They didn't quite know how to draw things three-dimensional, okay? Notice the buildings are just triangles and flat, looked very flat, okay? Next. But then they discovered something called perspective. And they started understanding that lines would converge towards a point would make them look more three-dimensional. So if you follow like the edge of this building, you'd see it converges towards a point here. And if you follow all these lines, which looks like in the sidewalk here, they converge towards this point. That's one-point perspective. Go ahead. Okay, there was an artist in Florence, Italy, and he was an architect, and he's named Felipe Brunelleschi. And he lived back in 1377, 1446. In 1415, he did this painting. And this was the first known painting that shows perspective. So he's got this building here, and the lines of the building are converging towards a point. So he was one of the first artists to figure this out and actually apply it to a painting. Next. So here's the painting that we see, that one before. Go ahead, next one. Okay, go on. So this is our old hallway, what it used to look like. And when I had kids in the class area, just had them line up on the floor. But if you follow, like for example, the edge of the hallway here and the edge of this hallway, they meet towards a point here. If you follow the ceiling tiles and the lights, the bulletin board, the bricks, they are all going towards a point here. If you were to draw the line at the top of her head, all these people pretty much line up, other than this guy's taller, okay? On the edge of her shoulder, they all line up here and they go towards what's a vanishing point right there. That's called one-point perspective. Next. I thought this was interesting. This is what our hall used to look like when they were working on it. This was the door across the hall from me. Next. And this is what we look like now. Way different, huh? Next. This was in construction. Look at that. And this was, my door was right here. This would be looking towards that hallway. I used to have a big temporary wall there. Next. Okay, and then here's looking that way. That's the same view there. Next. Okay, so this is an example of one-point perspective. You follow the lines on the road, and even the tops of the trees, they look like they're converging towards a point in the middle there. Next. Okay, if you look at this room, look at the edges of the ceiling, the edge of the bed, even the drawers on the dresser and the drawers on this changing table, they're going towards a point about right there. So it's the same as that hallway, it's just that it's not as long. The hallway goes further. Same as the railroad tracks, just not as long. Next. Okay? Now, this is called two-point perspective. Two-point perspective is when you're looking usually at a taller building or a large geometric object. In this case, it's a building. And when you look at the edge, this front edge, you'll notice everything on the right side of the building is converging towards a point that's way down here over someplace, okay? And everything on this side is converging towards a point here. So eventually, like for example, this line and this line will meet. On these, they happen to meet way off the screen. That's called two-point perspective, when you're looking at a large geometric object and two of the sides appear to be converging towards this vanishing point that's usually off the page, okay? Next. Here's another example of that, two-point perspective. Next. Here's an example of it. Now, this is our school, obviously, and you look at the top of these, the thing, the top of the windows, the top of these little pillars, they're all converging towards a point that's over here, and then everything on the left side is converging towards a point on the left point. Next. Same building, but now take a look here. The right face of this building converges towards the right side. The left face converges towards the left side. Then the right face of this converges towards the right side, and the left side converges towards the left point. Okay, next. Okay, now here's where we're looking at some buildings from real high advantage. This would be like in a helicopter or a tall building or something. So if I follow the lines on the windows here and here, I see the vanishing points here are really up high, really high. The vanishing points represent your eye level, okay? So if I'm standing on a city street, my eye level is pretty low, and all the lines are converging towards me where I am. If I'm on a helicopter like this view, my eye level is really high, okay? So all the lines will be going towards that high point, okay? You know what I'm talking about? Okay? Next. Quiz time. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you a slide, and you're going to show that you understand the difference between 1 and 2 point perspective. So what you're going to do is I'm going to just show you a slide. If it's 1 point perspective, you're going to hold up 1 finger. If it's 2, you're going to hold 2 fingers, okay? So don't look around, don't cheat. It's like a quiz. I'm just going to check to see if you kind of understand. Got that? Here we go. 1 or 2? Okay, good. Hold it up like you mean it. I see some people are like this, barely showing their finger. Okay, that's 1 point perspective. Look at the ceiling. The ceiling is what gives it away. They're all converging towards the point right there where Jesus' head is. Next. 1 or 2? Anthony? 2, very good. We're looking at this from the side. This is going one way, this is going the other way. Next. 1 or 2? Perfect. 2? Next. 1 or 2? Excellent. 2? Next. 1 or 2? This one gets a little tricky. 1 or 2? Make a commitment here. Okay? It's 2, and it's because you're looking at this field from sort of the corner. Now, if you follow the field and the markers here, they're converging towards a point here. And if I follow these yard lines, they're converging towards a point up there someplace. So that's 2 point perspective. We're looking at this rectangle from the corner, from the edge. Okay? Next. 1 or 2? 1. Now, notice the sidelines here and this sideline, they all converge towards a point that's really high. Why is that? I took this picture at a game. I was up high in the stands on the opposite side of the stands. So notice even like these, what do you call them, the hash marks here, they're going towards that vanishing point, which is about up there someplace. That's 1 point perspective. Next. 1 or 2? Excellent. 1. Next. 1 or 2? 1. Very good. Next. 1 or 2? 1. We're looking down the hallway here. Okay, so all these little nozzles and handles are all converging towards a point someplace here. This was in a submarine in Manitowoc, which is a pretty cool thing if you ever get up there. Next. 1 or 2? Very good, it's 1. Was that 2? 1. Next. 1 or 2? 1. Notice the vanishing point, really high. This was probably taken from a skyscraper really high. Next. 1, very good. This is taken from the road level, so now your vanishing point is really low. Next. 1 or 2? Very good. 2, next. 2, good, next. What do you think? 1, notice all these shelves, and all these shelves are converging towards a point someplace over there. Next. 1 or 2? 2, good. This one? 1, look at the table. Going towards a point over there. Next. 1 or 2? 1, very good. Next. 2, next. What do we got here? 1, there's not much to give this away. The only thing that really gives it away is this bench. That angled size. vanishing point would be about there. Next. 1 or 2? 2. Next. How about that one? 1 or 2? 2. Next. How about that one? 1. But you're looking at the side of the building and it's all converging towards the point up there. Next. How about this one? 1 or 2? This is actually neither. It's called 3. Why would it be 3? Anybody figure that out? Yeah.
Because there's a point at the top and then there's point.
Yeah, so the sides, they're converging towards points that are off the page, but the tower itself is actually getting narrower. This is pretty rare. It's usually if you're looking at a really tall building from the corner, you might see that. Or if you're really up high and you're looking down at a building, you might see the building look like it's getting smaller. Okay? Next. 3-point perspective. Next. Okay, there's a drawing in 3-point perspective. Next. There's a drawing in 3-point perspective. Next. Okay, getting tricky. I'm gonna now I got hard ones. It's gonna get a little trickier. See if you can keep up. Is this 1 or 2 or 3? What do you got here? 3. Good. Next. Is that one? Ella, you committing here? What is it? 2. Very good. Next. How about that? 1. Excellent. Next. How about that? 1. We're looking in the tunnel. Next. How about that? You got it. It's 3. Okay? We're looking at this, now what makes it complicated, there's so many angles here. So we got 2 points, but then you notice the pillars are kind of leaning towards, that's because the building is getting really tall. Really tricky. Next. How about that? I'd say it's 1. We're looking up at this dome. Now if you look at these pillars, they're all converging towards this center here. Okay? So we're looking at a tunnel again. Next. How about that one? Tricky. What is it? You got it, Aubrey. 3. Next. Well, that one. 1. Next. That. That looked disgusting. 2. Good. How about that? 2. Next. How about that? What do you got there? 2. We're looking at this building, and notice this side's going this way, and this side is going this way. You're looking, now normally you're looking at something from the outside corner. Now we're looking on the inside corner, so the corner's going away from you. Next. How about that? 2. Next. How about that? I would think it's 3, because the building is angling in a little bit, and we're seeing it from the corner. Next. How about that? 2. It's just that there's a lot of curves here. Next. How about that? What do you think this one is? Yeah, it's kind of 3. The only thing, there's nothing geometric here. But you can kind of tell, notice the trees, they're kind of converging in towards where this person is, okay? So it gives you this illusion that you're up high and you're looking down. I don't know if I'd call this 2, maybe if the trees are in line with, or 3, maybe if the trees are in line with each other. But definitely they use perspective in here to give you this illusion that you're up high looking down at this person. Next. Okay, how about this one? I would say 1. If you follow the tiles and the doors and then this wall, they're converging towards a point over here. So your point doesn't always have to be in the center to be 1-point perspective. Next. How about that? This one I don't even know, okay? Because you got all these buildings doing different things and they're kind of rounded. I would say definitely there's 1 because everything's getting smaller as it goes further away. But then you got these curves and arches. So this is a little confusing, but there's perspective here. Next. How about that one? I would say it's 1. If you look at these buildings, the sides of the buildings are converging towards a point here. Okay, next. How about that one? This is actually a combination. It's 1 and 2. So the chair is at an angle. If I follow the legs of the chair, they're going towards that point. If I follow these legs, they're going towards this point. But if I follow the floor, that's 1-point perspective. This is kind of rare. This is where you have something that's diagonal in the middle of a road that's going back in another direction. Next. How about that one? Tricky, tricky. What we got here? You got it, Kaya. That's 3. Notice the building looks like it's getting a little smaller as it gets down low. Next. How about that? 1. There's not much to go on here other than the pier. The lines are all converging towards the middle. Next. How about that? 2. Next. How about that? You got 4 up. Okay. 2, and this is how you do it. If I go to the heels of these duck's feet and the toes, they're going back towards that point. If I go to this middle toe, it's going this way. It's just that it's a little confusing because his feet aren't so geometric, okay? That's 2-point perspective. Notice this foot is a little bit smaller than the other foot because it's a little further away. Next. How about that one? Now, this one's none of that, okay? Because there's no geometric lines in here. But it does look 3-dimensional, and this is called atmospheric perspective, okay? That means this. Things that are up close are more detailed. Things that are further away are less detailed, okay? So like, for example, if you ever drive out towards like Colorado, remember you ever drive that way? You can see the mountains like 300 miles away. But when you first see them, they look like clouds because you can barely make them out. They're like the color of the sky. They're blue. That's because there's so much sky atmosphere between you and the mountains. They take on all that atmosphere, all those molecules of sky that are in between you and the mountains. Okay? The mountains look blue and they look really faint. As you get closer, they start to get more in focus. So things that are further away are blurrier, like these trees. Things that are close up have more detail. Okay? Next. What about this one? It's called 1. Okay, we can stop. All right, we're going to get started now on our drawing.